Hello, Frugal Force. Once again, this is Captain Frugal reporting for duty, and today I want to talk about this article that here we are. It's from comic books here, CB comic book slash comics, comicbook.com. Okay, there's the information there, and it is interview Christopher Priest on being black in comics and the industry's future, and it's by Chase Magnet, and this was published on February 23rd of 2018. There's a couple points I want to bring up about this. So, and I think he has a good point. I'm going to go over this just a little bit in case you're not familiar with Christopher Priest. Just so you know, and you have my opinion on it, I love Christopher Priest's work on books. I have many books that he has written for, and I pretty much, if his name is on it, I feel I can trust it to buy it and will enjoy it. It says Christopher Priest has been working in comics for 40 years and writing them for more than 30 years. Priest began work at Marvel Comics as an intern, then editor, and he was, I think, quite good at that job, I might add, becoming the first African-American editor in mainstream comics. He has also produced work at DC Comics, Valiant Entertainment, and many other publishers. In addition to helping establish Milestone Media, in the 90s, Priest began a 60-issue run of Black Panther that is considered to be by many to be most definitive work on the character, and by all means it is an amazing work on that character. If you've just recently watched the Black Panther movie and you're new to comics and you go, wow, I want to read some Black Panther, don't go and buy the new stuff. Find the Christopher Priest stuff. That will blow that new stuff away. Trust me, that is key stuff right there. He's written a lot of other wonderful stuff too. His experience in comics has covered almost every aspect of production, both creative and technical. During the time, he also worked as a musician, author, and minister. Simply put, he has a life well lived. Now, I can't speak on his musician stuff. I don't know about that. Priest recently returned to comics to write Deathstroke and currently writes Justice League as well. He sat down with comicbook.com to discuss the release of Black Panther in comics today. So let's look at this interview and this back and forth, okay? And as I said, I'm not going to cover everything here. They ask him, what has it brought you back to comics this time? Was there any specific appeal that made you return for Deathstroke? And he said, they just offered it to me. I was home minding my own business. For years, I would get a call every 18 months from either Marvel or DC, where they would inevitably offer me a character of color, a black character, or Latino character. I would politely decline and then pitch them on Potato Man or Spud Boy or whatever. They go, we don't really know. We'd have this conversation, and I would thank them for calling and plan to see them in 18 months. Then 18 months later, I get a call from Marvel or DC, and we go do the same dance again. This, by the way, is the main point I want to make on this. So I got a call from DC, and he wanted to talk to me about Cyborg. I gave them the standard stump speech. I don't want to be a black writer, and that's in quotes. When did I become a black writer? I used to be a guy who would write Spider-Man, Deadpool, and Batman, and I will say he wrote all three of them spectacularly. Why am I no longer qualified to write those characters? Why did I get typecast from writing Black Panther of all things when that series was never really about Black Panther? It was about the white guy, about Ross. It was narrated through his voice, and I thought I wrote a very well-constructed white character. Why are you now pigeonholing me as the guy who can only write black characters? I later found out that Marvel, and to a lesser extent DC, moved into a trend where they were no longer hiring writers, they were casting writers. And here's the big part right here, guys and gals. They're listening to chatter on Twitter, insisting that only a black lesbian writer could write a black lesbian character. And that's nonsense. A writer who writes, Tom Clancy, rest his soul, could write anything. A writer writes. All of a sudden, I was no longer qualified to write anybody that didn't look like me, and I resented that. I was really polite about it, and I told DC, thank you for calling, blah, blah, blah. And that's the point. A writer doesn't have to be the same color, the same gender. I'm sorry, they don't. A writer just needs to have good writing skills and good stories. We've been seeing this who's the most edgy on Twitter right now? Oh, they could write this character. And how has that turned out for Marvel? Think about it. It's been an abysmal, absolute failure. So then going on, then a day or two later, I got another call from DC, and they asked me about Deathstroke. And and I asked if he was black. And they said no, and I said, okay, I'm listening. We started having a conversation about Deathstroke. It wasn't just another character who wasn't black. We were talking about a character with a lot of untapped potential for me to get inside his head and mine new ground with him. That's one of the things I absolutely love about him and his work. Even if he does like a one-shot story, Christopher Priest's story had loads of depth to it. They were amazing. I wasn't going to come back to comic book companies until they offered me something I could get energized about. I left comics because they stopped offering me anything. Oops, sorry about my noise there. I left comics because they stopped offering me anything but black characters. Now, ironically, both Marvel and DC and some of the independents are talking about a whole range of things. That's much better because we're changing the industry, or maybe they're changing or the industry is changing. I'm sorry. I want to make sure I got that part right. And I hope he's right there. I hope the industry is changing. I hope they realize the true diversity is diversity of thought. The rest of it is just nothing. It's who cares about the color of our skin? Who cares about what parts we have? Ultimately, what comic fans want is good quality stories. That means good art and good stories. They want good characterization. They want heroes to be heroes. They want depth. You know, you don't have to look like the character you read. I mean, sure, 10 years ago, I had the six-pack, or whatever, and it was much better shape. Doesn't mean I can't read Captain America anymore because I'm now 10 pounds overweight. My little girl, which I call American Dream, she runs around the house saying she's Superman. And she knows who Superwoman is, and Supergirl, and Wonder Woman. She chooses Superman. I have no problem with that. I don't understand. Their kids didn't have to be green to enjoy the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is not a political thing. This is an ideology and a cultural thing. This was a complete miss by Marvel and a little bit on DC's part, that you have to look like the person and live the life of a person of that color or whatever to fit that story. That's just not true. We can actually understand each other if we listen to each other and actually talk. Rather than people, anytime you say something different, like Daryl A.O., you get an F-U in return. But that's the major part I wanted to cover about this is I'm happy to see Christopher Priest back, no matter what his political ideology is, because I trust him to write good comics. Because he understands what makes a good character. He understands it's about the character and what you can do with them, not the color or their political ideology that they have. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit like and subscribe and hit that notifications bell. Also, make sure you tell others about this channel and please help spread it because not everybody's getting notifications. And if you really want to help me in Little Frugal, you can go right to the info bar down below. There should be a link for our Patreon where you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Once we get that built up a little bit more, we're also going to start offering prizes. So bear with us. We are in the process of building. And I also want to take a moment to say thank you for all the patrons and everyone that's helped this channel in any form whatsoever, whether there's been financially or artwork or spreading the word, whatever means it is. We greatly appreciate you, and we appreciate everyone as well taking the time to watch and respond, even if you don't agree. So thank you. You're part of this community, and we're happy to have you. And until next time, keep it frugal.